It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I'm going to be taking a look at the newest version of Blue Moon called Blue Moon Legends. Now what Blue Moon Legends is a two-player head-to-head combat game in a fantastical setting in which you are trying to become one of the new leaders in this world by attracting dragons, getting their approval of these dragons, and winning the game. The game has been published before simply as Blue Moon in the Cosmos two-player line, in this format right here. Now, this is the English printing, of course, and I've had this one for many years. The newest version is Blue Moon Legends, which includes everything that was in that little box, which was just 2 decks of character cards. They're called Peoples in this game, as well as all the ones that were released individually after the fact as expansions. So, in this box, they've grouped it all together. They added cards that allow you to deck build. They've added even promotional cards that were very difficult to find in the original iteration of the game. And so now you can get it all in one box. But the game is several years old. Is it still a good game? Is it a fun head-to-head combat game? Let's find out. Here's everything that comes in the box, which is everything that was released for Blue Moon in its original implementation. So you are going to get the People's deck. There are 9 of them in total. Each one has its own deck of 30 cards, so those are there. Then you get some cards for deck building and that sort of thing. A few more cards for that. Some promo cards that were released for the game. Those are all included. And then you have the board, the dragons that players are attempting to control, these gems which are for playing several games in a row and keeping score of that, and then the rulebook with some advanced concepts in a secondary rulebook as well. So I'm going to not really cover the deck building rules. I'm not going to cover any of the more advanced concepts. I'm just going to show you how the game works in case you haven't, you're not familiar with the original Blue Moon. And then I'll just tell you what I think of this edition of the game. So here we have the two sides ready to begin. We have the two peoples fighting right now. The leader of the Terra here versus the Hoax. And each player is going to shuffle up their own deck, put their leader aside here in the designated spot for it. Draw 6 cards, you're ready to begin. What you're attempting to do, the way you win, is by controlling all 3 dragons and attracting further dragons. If you have all 3 and would need a 4th, you immediately win, or at the end of the round, if you have dragons on your side. And that's going to be triggered by running out of cards, someone running out of cards, not being able to continue to play, and having the game be over. So be completely out of cards in their hand and their deck. At that point, anyone with dragons on their side will win. And the reason both players will not have dragons is because these are used as a tug of war. So if I attract 1 dragon, I would take 1. If I attract 1 more, I would take another. If my opponent now would attract 2, they don't take this one. They put these back in the center. And if I had a single one and they attract 2, then they would take 1, put it in the center, and then any one of these over to their side. So it's a tug of war for these 3 dragons. The way the rounds go is like this. There is a turn phases cheat right here. And so at the beginning of the round, step 1 is the beginning of the round, and some things might happen during that step. After that comes the leadership phase, in which you can play a leadership card. Typically those will be played over here on top of the leader. They are out of the game for the rest of the game. They do not get shuffled back in case something lets you retrieve from the discard pile, because they tend to be very powerful cards. And so that's the first thing. You could play 1 leadership card. After that comes the engagement phase, in which at the beginning of the game, someone is going to start a fight. So let's say it's going to be me on this side. I'm going to start a fight. To start a fight, you are going to then do the next few phases. You have the phase 4 is the character phase, where you must play a character. And after that comes the booster/support phase, in which you may play 1 booster or support card. After that, you announce your power to your opponent, what they have to match at least. You refresh your hand. It is then the end of the round, and they go back to the beginning phase on their turn. So, most turns are going to be quite simply playing a character, maybe a booster, maybe a support, saying a number to the other player, drawing back up. That's the typical cadence, thrown off by sometimes a leadership card, sometimes having to start a new fight if one is over, because during the engagement phase, one of the players says, okay, you win, I have to, I'm out. And so they'll attract some dragons, we'll clear the board, and begin a new fight. So, it is the beginning of the game. I am going to start skipping the beginning phase, skipping the leadership phase. I'm going to the engagement phase where I'm going to play this character here. Characters, and several other cards as well. We'll tell you their name, we'll show you a picture, maybe a little flavor text, sometimes actual rules text, and then on the side it'll tell you 2 powers. Power and fire, power and earth. And I'm going to declare, since I'm beginning a new fight, whether we're fighting in fire or earth. Looking at this card, it might be pretty obvious that I want to start in fire, but that's not necessarily always true, depending on what other cards I'm holding in my hand. But I am going to go with that. Also because I know my opponent's deck in this case happens to be very strong in earth. Some decks are balanced, some are askew to one side or the other. So I'm going to play this card. When you begin a brand new fight, you may not, for that first round of fight, the very beginning, you may not play a booster or support. So I cannot do that. And then I announce my power. 5 fire. We may use this card to remind each other of what the thing is that we're fighting in. I replenish my hand with a new card. Done. It is my opponent's turn. Their beginning of round. Nothing. Their leadership phase. They're not holding any of those cards, so nothing. And then they must respond to my attack with at least 5 fire. They have to push at least. And so they're going to take a look at their cards here, and they are going to play this one. This character here, Gravito's Great Power, who, as you can see there, has no text, but he has a 4 fire. And then a support card on top of that. Support cards go in their support area, and so they do not cover each other up here in the combat area. This one does have some special text and 1 fire right there. And this one says, if I have more than 1 active storm support cards, during my beginning phase, I immediately attract 1 dragon. Okay. They play that in there, and now they have 5. And they announce 5 fire, which is enough to match me. They will draw back up and throw it back into my court, where I now have to, again, respond to this. And this is going to go back and forth until someone wishes to pass or has to pass. So let's say I throw it back to them. They go through their beginning phase, leadership phase, engagement phase. They say, I'm out. I have to retreat. And so they will discard, clean up, and I will as well. I'm going to attract some dragons for having them retreat. A lot of the fun in the game comes from the combos and from the different peoples. And so we have these characters. The Terra are very strong in earth. They have those storms, which can, if played at the proper time, you can have multiple storms and start just stealing the dragons in the middle of a fight. The hoax over here are very sneaky, very thoughtful, and they can pull off some very interesting tricks. And then we have the Flit here, which are bird-like creatures. They can retrieve cards right from the combat zone. You have the Aqua, which are going to burn through their deck incredibly fast, but they have very protected cards. They have a lot of cards that your opponent can simply not affect. And one time in the game, usually, they will be able to replenish their entire deck. So they are very unlikely to lose a tie at the end due to the decks running out. We have the Volca here, which are fire people, kind of like the opposite of the Terra here. You have, well, there's many different ones. You have, this is one of my favorites here. This is my favorite peoples, the Kind or the Kind. And they come in little groups, in little gangs. And you can play multiple cards at the same time, multiple characters, as long as they belong to the same gang. And in fact, when my opponent throws it back to me, I can play another card from the same gang and keep them alive. And so the numbers will add up. As soon as I have to play one from a different gang, though, then it buries the one underneath it. So there's a lot here to explore. And then on top of all of that stuff, you have deck building opportunities in this game with extra cards for all the peoples, different ways to play, reactionary cards, cards that are going to allow you to interrupt your opponent, all of that. All right, so there you have it. So let's get the obvious out of the way first. I really like Blue Moon, and Blue Moon Legends is no exception to that. I've had the original Blue Moon in my collection for many, many years. It's been in my top 10 games for several years, and I don't foresee that changing. I really enjoy the game. It's a fantastic combination between combo-rific card play with denial, with confrontation, all those things, meets an easy, straightforward turn structure, fairly, easy to learn card game. And it's a game that I've played a ton. It's a game that I've explored a whole lot, and I keep coming back to it. It keeps being something that engages me. So again, I really like it. Blue Moon Legends itself, it does a few things, or several things I really like, and so it's a very good reprinting of the original game. It does one or two little things I don't like, but let me get the things I don't like out of the way first, okay? First and foremost, and really the main issue I have with this, is that the cards are not as good as the original game. This is one of the cards from the original game, tarot-sized, gorgeous, artwork front and center, very nice iconography. This is one of the cards from this printing. Smaller standard size card. Iconography is a little busy. The artwork had to be cropped on many of the cards, and so that's one of my main concerns or beefs really with the game. So the other thing is that the box is pretty big for the content. It all fits in about, I would say, that much space in this box. So it's a pretty wasteful size box, but it is standard size, so that's good. Other than that, those two things. This is a fantastic production of this game. It's everything in one box. The original, you bought just this, you got that, okay? You had 2 decks, the dragons, that's it. No gems, no extra peoples, no deck building, nothing. And then you bought all that stuff separately. In this one, they put it all in one box. You have all the people, all those promos that were very hard to get, everything. It's everything in one box. Nothing to chase down, and nothing else has been put out after this, and probably won't. So it's nice being able to buy a product and get it all. And that's what you're going to get with Blue Moon Legends. So that's a huge thumbs up, you know. The production of the other things besides the cards is really nicely done. These gems allow you to play that campaign game, several games in a row, very easily. They're very nicely made. The new dragon models here are great. The original ones are fine. They all have the same. They all have the same shape. You know, they all look the same. They're just 3 different colors. These new ones are incredible. Their production is fantastic. So I like that as well. And the rule book is very straightforward. You know, all those things have been cleaned up. It's a second, you know, they've taken another stab at doing Blue Moon, and they've done it very well. The only thing is, we lost those tarot-sized cards in the process, unfortunately. But other than that, if you are someone that enjoys highly tactical, back and forth, tug-of-war, 2-player games, and you are someone that enjoys combos in card games, you know, if you like noticing this card and this card is going to destroy my opponent when I play that, and I shut down his ability to draw cards and his ability to play more than one card in a turn or something, then you're going to enjoy this one. You will play several of the peoples. You're going to find the ones that really jive with you. You're going to have fun exploring all that content. You're going to have fun, if you get into it, exploring the deck building in the game, the alternate ways to play. There's a lot here, really. And so I would very much recommend it. I know that the main complaint that this game gets from several people is that it feels like war. 5 towards you, you got to respond with 5. But I find that to be a pretty baseless accusation of the game. For one thing, war, the game in which you flip cards from a deck and see which one wins, is simultaneous. There is no decision to be made in that game. And there is one card flip, one number, that's it. You could easily be rolling one die against each other. In this game, you are reacting to your opponent. You are trying to control what they're able to play and not play. You can just match their total if you're able to and keep the fight going. You can try to really blow them out of the water and push them out, especially if you think you can survive a response again. Or you can keep them on the hook. If you go past those 6 cards, then drop the big guns, you get 2 dragons. So there's a lot here, really. And if you are someone, again, looking for a 2-player game with that sort of design philosophy, then I think this one is for you. As I said, for me, I adore this game. I rate it a 10. I've rated it a 10 for years now. And obviously, it's going to get a seal of excellence from me. And I think you should check it out as well. So, there you have it. That is the newest printing of Blue Moon, the all-encompassing Blue Moon Legends.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.